Warehouse Diagnostics, that is the topic for this week, and I'm going to show you some of the diagnostics that we use on our clients' warehouses here at Logistics Bureau, coming right up. So here at Logistics Bureau, we've been doing heaps of warehousing projects over the last couple of years. We normally, probably about 20% of our work is probably related to warehousing, design and process improvement, but I think during COVID it's probably risen to about 35%. Probably an indication that a lot of people are holding more stock, businesses are growing, and so they're really focusing on trying to improve their warehouse operations. Because we've been doing so much of it and I've been seeing some really interesting results, I thought I'd just share some diagnostic techniques that might be useful for you to have a look at in your own warehouse. So a couple of these you've probably seen before, a couple maybe you haven't, so let's just dive into it. I'm going to share a couple of slides, so I'm going to look down here at the results while we're going through the video. The first one, it's a common analysis technique, it's the Pareto Analysis, and what I'm looking at here is the number of order lines, the Pareto of the number of order lines, and how many of the items are represented in each of the order lines. And this is an absolute classic Pareto if it's done at the order line level. So we would normally expect to see 80% of the volume, it's very often done as value or as item count, coming from 20% of the SKUs, 20% of the products. And we're seeing here it's 19%. We would then, as the next block, expect to see the next 15% of value or item count coming from about 30% of the products, and we've got 31%. I mean, this is a textbook. And then the final 5% of item count or volume we would normally expect to be coming from about 50% of the SKUs. So you can do it, based on SKU items, items at the SKU level. This one I've done by order lines, and it's an absolutely classic Pareto. Why am I showing you this? Because it's important to do this, do a Pareto of order lines as well as individual items, because sometimes you can get a slightly different result. And we're going to see that on the next slide, because this slide you may not have seen before. And this is where on the bottom axis, we've actually got an ABC by quantity of items. And then on the Y-axis, we've got the ABC of order lines. So we're looking at the SKU throughputs in terms of how many are represented at an order line level, how many are represented at a raw item level. And what it's doing is it's really focusing in on the fast moving items. So if we look on this, we've got, don't worry about the numbers in the chart, but what we're looking at here is the double A's. There's 416 SKUs there, which represent, a really big volume of the total items going through, and they are also represented on a lot of the orders going through. So this is a really good way to zone in. Why is that important? Well, because you don't want those items down the back of the warehouse. You want them up near the sort of dispatch areas, the packing dispatch area. This is warehousing 101, really. Just a tip, and we've talked about warehouse layouts quite a bit on the channel here, and we've talked about product slotting. Just be careful. So in this example, we've got 400 very fast-moving SKUs. You don't want them all in exactly the same spot, because you'll have staff falling over each other trying to pick the orders. But what it means is you want them closer to dispatch generally, but dispersed a bit so that you can work easily. The other interesting number is top right, because there we've got over 4,000 SKUs, which are pretty slow moving. And because we've looked at it at an order line level and a SKU level, we've really got sort of quite an accurate picture here that a very large proportion of these SKUs are very slow movers. So what does that mean? We'd put them towards the back of the warehouse, away from receipt and dispatch. We'd put them higher up. We're not having to get to them so often. But the key, of course, would be we need to look at those very closely to see if we should be stocking them. Are there obsolete products in there? Very slow-moving products that we shouldn't even have in stock. Now on this slide, what we're doing is having a look at the capability of the warehouse to process sales orders. So what we're looking at here is the number of sales order lines processed through the warehouse over something like a 6-month period. Don't worry about the numbers as such. What we're looking at is really the sort of shape of this graph and the concept of it. So what we're seeing along that black line is the average number of orders picked per day. And then the two orange lines are one standard deviation above and one standard deviation below. Why is that important? Well, we need to understand kind of what the peaks and troughs in workload look like so that we can design the right sort of picking methodologies, whether that be levels of automation and technology or people. If you're managing a warehouse with a large number of staff, you need to have a good picture of this for shift planning and so on. I suppose a key out of this is that you never want to design your warehouse or staffing levels for those absolute peaks. So above that top orange line, you'd generally be covering that off with overtime, casuals and things like that. So your staffing is really to cater for the volume between those two orange lines. So that's a really interesting and useful technique to have a look at. The last one I want to show you is, again, the number of sales orders picked in this particular warehouse. They're only working weekdays, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And what we're looking for here is any particular peaks of activity. This can happen in a lot of businesses where there's a big rush at the end of the week to get orders out, or there's a lot of orders coming over the weekend and they're all getting processed on the Monday. This one's really good. It's fairly spread through the week. And what you're seeing there is those blue boxes are basically showing the spread of the number of orders. So this is over that similar 6-month period. And what we're seeing is, the number of orders processed are somewhere sort of between here and here, and the black line is the average. So it's fairly even every day of the week there, which is really good. Very often when we're doing this, there's massive peaks and troughs through the week, and of course that's an opportunity to dive straight into that and say, well, what's driving that? What kind of order processing behavior or customer behavior is driving that? Because peaks and troughs in any area of the supply chain are never a good thing, because it's very hard to manage our resources to cope with them. So there we go, just a very quick video this week, just sharing some of the diagnostic techniques that we use here that you might find useful. Maybe you've got some diagnostic techniques that you find useful as well. I'd love to hear your comments down below. If you're new to the channel, do not forget to subscribe. There's a red button just down there, hit subscribe. Why is that important? Because it tells us which videos are considered more interesting, more popular. We can see how many people subscribe on the different videos, and so you're really helping us out so that we can help you out. And of course, if you subscribe, you don't have to go looking around for that channel. Who's that guy talking about supply chain? What's it called? Because it will be on your subscription list. Okay, thanks for watching and see you next week. Bye for now.